next week at this very same time on October 20th, we will have an in-depth training on Solar One. So those are people that are interested in Solar One. Please sign up so you'll get the website to go to in order to join in on that training. 1 week after that, on October 27th, at this same time, 6:30, we will have our Solar 2 training for those that want to join in on that. You're welcome to join both trainings, but that's how we're going to do it this time, and we hope it all works out well for you in those time slots. This session is called Stepping Out into the Sun, which kind of introduces Solar Under the Sun to you and what we are all about. As you can see on your screen, we're an ecumenical mission of the Synod of the Sun, PCUSA. But I want to strongly underline that word ecumenical. No matter what faith, persuasion, or background you come from, or if no particular background at all, we welcome you here because the problems of alleviating solar poverty around the world are far too great for any one individual or institution to stick a fork in it and say, I'm going to do this. Our goal is to eliminate energy poverty, the problems of energy poverty around the world. And we do this in our solar trainings. We are primarily a training outfit that will train you how to build the solar system from the solar array all the way to the point of use or need. We are a standalone, off-the-grid training system. So our primary focus is in the developing world. No, we do not train you to put solar panels on your individual churches here in the United States. We are trying to address the problems of people who have no power at all, not even as much as one light bulb in their homes. So having said that, I would like to now go to our mission statement. Solar Under the Sun cultivates relationships with communities and individuals and trains volunteers to alleviate energy poverty around the world. And now Megan Rubio will give you some background on energy poverty.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome everyone. You can see here a beautiful picture of a light bulb. We're getting towards that time of year with the end of daylight savings time, that it's going to be dark outside at 5:30, 6 o'clock. You might come home from work and you have to make dinner or help the kids with their homework or things like that. And what are you going to do in a completely dark house? Well, for most of us, it's as easy as the flip of a switch. You flip the switch and the lights come on. Most of us have overhead lights, we have lamps. If you think about even in your kitchen, you might have lights up underneath your cabinets, even a light in the refrigerator or the stove when you open the door. Light bulbs and light is pretty readily available to us everywhere that we go. But for about 1/3 of the world's population, their day ends when the sun goes down. They are in darkness, and that is what we call energy poverty. Energy poverty is the state of living without access to electricity because it is unavailable, unreliable, or unaffordable. Now, when we think about poverty, it's easy to think about a lack of food, clothing, and shelter, right? Those basic essential needs that we learn early on. That's what means real poverty, right? And in that context, it's easy to think about electricity as a little bit more of a luxury item or a nice to have, but not necessary. But I really want you to understand that energy poverty has severe consequences on health, on life expectancy, on safety. In the developing world, a lack of access to electricity can actually be a killer, and alleviating energy poverty can help save lives. Who's affected by energy poverty? I mentioned about 1/3 of the world's population. The World Health Organization estimates 1.2 billion people in the world live without access to electricity. And 2.7 billion people live dependent on burning biomass fuels in their homes for things like lighting, cooking, and heating their homes. Now, biomass fuels could be wood, charcoal, kerosene, even crop waste and animal dung that they're burning inside of their homes for lighting and cooking purposes. And you can take a look at these pictures here and see right away what the consequences of that are going to be. One of the biggest problems with energy poverty is death from respiratory illness due to indoor air pollution. Again, it's estimated that 3.5 million people die every year from respiratory illness caused by burning these fuels in their home. That's more than malaria and HIV and AIDS combined every year. That's a serious impact, and they also studies show that it affects women and children even more substantially. Kerosene is one of the fuels that is most frequently used to light homes, and about $40 billion per year is spent just on this lighting fuel. But kerosene poses many serious health risks. In addition to that indoor air pollution, which for women and children can be the equivalent of smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. In addition to that indoor air pollution, it poses burn risk, poisoning risks, and serious fire hazards to those areas that depend on that for lighting their homes. And families often spend up to 40% of their income just to light their homes, and there are better ways that we can do that. Energy poverty has a serious impact on the availability of healthcare in the developing world as well. An estimated 60% of health clinics have no access to electricity, or maybe don't have reliable electricity. Well, if you're in a healthcare clinic and you don't have electricity, you don't have lights to deal with after hours emergencies or the birth of a baby. And we've heard so many stories of midwives trying to deliver babies by candlelight or while holding up flames to see what they're doing. Also, you don't have access to refrigeration, which is so critical for keeping a blood supply, medications, and immunizations viable. And you also don't have the equipment that you might need, like X-ray machines or nebulizers, or things that can save lives quickly and easily. So it really can have a serious impact on healthcare, and it's just difficult for communities to provide meaningful healthcare when they don't have access to electricity. We also see the horrible impacts of energy poverty in education. Without light, it reduces the time that students can spend in school or studying at home after hours. Now, it's especially important for those families that rely on children to help with income or chores for the family. Oftentimes, families have to make the hard decision of keeping their kids home from school to help with the income needs or chores because they can't do those things after hours because the sun's down and it's dark. So relieving that energy poverty can make a huge difference in the opportunities for education. Without electricity, it also limits access to teaching materials and resources, and it makes it really hard to recruit qualified teachers to teach in these remote areas when they know that they're not going to have resources or power at their fingertips. So these are just some of the difficult and like I said, life-threatening and safety-threatening issues that stem from energy poverty. And these folks that don't have access to electricity really are limited in what they can do to improve their situation.
At Solar Under the Sun, we believe that the reconciliation of humankind to Jesus Christ makes it plain that enslaving poverty in a world of abundance is an intolerable violation of God's good creation, and that any individual or church or corporation, for that matter, that does not recognize its responsibility in economic affairs or seeks to serve one social class over another or expects gratitude for their benefits violates this reconciliation and offers no acceptable worship to God. Now, what does reconciliation look like in a world where people have to peck out a living scratching on 2 to 3 acres just to get by for their family's needs until their hands and their feet turn to leather. What does reconciliation look like when people still have to churn cornmeal the old-fashioned way? What does reconciliation look like when a household mother has to travel at least 3 hours one way, until she reaches the market to sell her goods for only maybe $2 or $3 in income for that day? I asked the driver when we passed this lady on the road going to market, does she do this every day of the week? And he says, oh, no, 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 only on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. This is what I call the face of energy poverty. This little Honduran girl isn't in school because she stays home to make firecrackers for her family to garner maybe only $32 extra income for that year. So she's missing out on an education because she has to stay home and help the family. All this while 1 hour of sunshine hitting the earth each and every day supplies enough energy to supply the entire world's energy needs for 1 year.
So God has given us that gift of the sun and of solar power to help us fight energy poverty. And with energy poverty, we can use electricity to power so many things. I mean, it can power clean water in communities that have water that would otherwise make them sick. Electricity can power clinics and hospitals to provide meaningful health care. It can power schools and homes to promote education. It can power businesses to encourage entrepreneurs and new opportunities in growing communities. And it can power our churches to care for and tend to the spiritual needs of those communities as well. So electricity is a lot more than a light bulb or an outlet that you can plug a device into. Electricity provides power, but it also empowers communities. And that electricity and energy can empower the advancement that's needed to move a community from barely surviving and barely eking by to having something that they are growing and improving and getting a higher and higher quality of life. And that really is where Solar Under the Sun comes into the mix. This is where we intersect this great need in the world. And as Chris told you, we are an ecumenical mission of the Synod of the Sun, and we take that very seriously and get to work with a broad community and children of God all across the world. And part of that mission or vision statement that we have says this: believing that Jesus Christ is the light of the world, we envision a reality where every person on the planet has access to clean, reliable, life-changing energy. Towards this end, Solar Under the Sun trains volunteers to design and install solar power systems in partnership with communities that lack reliable electrical power. So that is who we are and what we do. We formed in 2009, and we started out actually as an outreach or as a sister mission to Living Waters of the World, which is another mission organization that puts water filtration systems in communities that don't have clean water. And what was happening was those water systems were powered by generators, and generators, along with being noisy and polluting and difficult to run, they require fuel, they require maintenance, they require spare parts, and those things would break, leaving the water system unusable because of a lack of electricity. So our founding members said there's got to be a better way. We could do this with solar power that's clean, reliable, renewable, no moving parts, and something that could last for years and years and years to keep these water systems working. And back in 2009, we did our first mission and have been going strong ever since then. But electricity can be used for so much more than water systems. And in fact, our systems now power, in many cases, schools, churches, homes. We have systems in orphanages and medical clinics, volunteer systems, in addition to those water purification systems around the world. And we can do this in many, many different countries. Because solar power is becoming more prevalent and more popular around the world, we can do this in a lot of different places. We currently have systems in Haiti and Honduras. We have systems in Guatemala, Kenya and Uganda, and the Ukraine. And we have recently put in systems in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria as well. This isn't an exhaustive list, but it gives you an idea of where we've done a lot of work so far. But at Solar Under the Sun, we realized that what a small group of us can do pales in comparison to what we could train other missionaries to go out and do themselves. So we really have two main functions here. One of those is to connect people like you who can volunteer their time and talent and resources, and to connect those with communities in need in the developing countries. So we have the resources to help you find a project and connect you with people who are waiting and hoping for help with solar power. And our other main function is to train. That's what we do. We do training for volunteers to form partnerships and to design and install those solar power systems. We are primarily a training organization. And we do this every year through Solar School. We usually offer 2 sessions per year, one in the spring and one in the fall. And it's usually held at Ferncliff Camp and Conference Center in Little Rock, Arkansas. We do have the capacity with some mobile technology to do the solar school in other places, but most of our solar schools so far have been at Ferncliff, which is a beautiful location to commune with nature and appreciate the gifts that God has given us. Solar school is, like I said, it happens twice a year, and it's a 3-day class that usually runs Thursday afternoon through Sunday morning, that we bring students to Ferncliff and do intensive training on all kinds of aspects of this mission project. Each solar school offers 2 learning tracks. You heard mention earlier of Solar 1 and Solar 2. What does that mean? Solar 1 is what we call our leadership track, and it includes information about leadership, partnership development with our communities, and how to survey and lay the groundwork for developing a solar mission project. Solar 2 is a separate track that is the more technical side of solar installations. In Solar 2, you learn how to design a system, what all the components are, how they work together, how you would do an installation in the field, and how you train your partners to be able to maintain and run that system. So Solar 1 and Solar 2 happen during Solar School simultaneously. You don't have to do one before the other. And in fact, what we encourage teams to do is if you're thinking about a solar project, send at least one representative to Solar 1 and one representative to Solar 2, and then you get the complete training and your team has all of the information they need on both sides of that track to run a successful solar installation and mission project. I also wanted to add that Solar 1 and Solar 2, while they're 2 separate tracks that occur simultaneously during Solar School, we do have a lot of overlap, a lot of teamwork. A lot of times that the Solar 1s and Solar 2s are working together on a project. We do hands-on activities in both Solar 1 and Solar 2, and lots of opportunity for crossover and seeing what both sides of those look like working together. This is our very first solar school back in 2009. Many of these people have been out in the mission field doing this great work. And many of them that you see in this picture are also our solar school instructors and some of our board members as well. And since that time, we've had 22 solar schools. This is a compilation of some of those, most of those classes that have all come through solar school, learned about this great technology, and have gone out to help make improvements on energy poverty around the world. As Chris said, this is what we're fighting against. This is what energy poverty looks like. And one 65-watt panel and a 12-volt battery could be the solution that changes somebody like that's life. We'd like to take a minute to give you a little bit more information about Solar 1 and Solar 2 and give you a few more details on those so you have a really good idea of what track you might be interested in. And I'm going to turn it over to Tom Ulrich. He is our lead Solar 1 instructor and has been teaching this course for many, many years. And we are thankful to have him on board. And I turn it over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Megan. It is indeed a delight to be a part of this illustrious group and for the meaningful mission that we are able to engage in. And I also appreciate all the people who are participating in this Zoom call with us. It is a gift of God's grace that so many are taking an interest into ways that we may enrich the lives of our fellow human beings and at the same time being good stewards of the resources that God has given to us. In SolarOne, we have the opportunity to share a number of things. And when we go into a SolarOne class, there are several things that we have as goals. One is to try to help folks in forming and nurturing mission teams. As you know, any successful athletic team consists of individuals who have gifts in particular areas. For example, in gymnastics, you know, some of the women are more gifted at the balance beam, others on floor exercise, and others at the uneven bars. And together they work to accomplish a goal. And similarly, any successful mission team also has people who share their gifts in ways that enrich the team together, so that some people may be gifted in language, others may be gifted in medical knowledge or electrical skill. All of those things work together so that we can put together and nurture the best team that we can find. We also work together with our Solar2 brothers and sisters in evaluating potential locations. The primary way that we do this is through a solar site survey. And we'll learn more about this in our classes, but we evaluate the potential site. Not every site will be good for a solar installation. However, many are. And we're able to determine through this solar site survey the electrical needs that a community may have. Because we are also a faith organization at Solar Under the Sun, we also seek to negotiate covenant agreements. Covenants are primary in our understanding of who we are and what we do, because we understand at Solar Under the Sun that God makes promises to us and keeps those promises. Our faith is indeed a covenant faith, and we are a covenant people. And therefore, we are called to be in relationships of trust, of expectation, and of accountability with God. But we are also in relationship with one another, and those mutual relationships are based on shared partnerships. Therefore, when we establish covenant relationships with communities and individuals, those covenants are not one-sided. Covenants seek to lift up the dignity and value of everyone involved. And so we enter into these covenants, remembering that God's promises are for everyone. Our role in creating covenants with a community or with a church or some type of partnership, our role in creating that covenant is to create a new future for everyone. At SolarOne, we also seek to teach how we may serve as the overall mission team leader. Therefore, when we do this, we seek to highlight how we may most efficiently and effectively arrange housing, arrange transportation, secure appropriate meals and clean water, securing a translator for our in-country visit. So the SolarOne team leader has an immense amount of responsibility to share. And finally, we seek to nurture and sustain a long-term relationship with our partners. And as I share that phrase with you, I want to highlight two things. One is long-term. When we establish our covenants, we normally establish those covenants for a period of 3 years. And if we can't envision how this installation is going to be looking 5 years from now, we may want to reevaluate our involvement. We want that to be long-term. The second highlight I would like to emphasize is the word relationship. That is our primary focus at Solar Under the Sun. If we are not developing and creating a meaningful relationship with our partners, then we are not fulfilling our mission. Our primary goal at Solar Under the Sun is to establish relationships, and we install solar installations as a means for doing that. We gather together and we talk in our Solar One classes. We share insights, and we engage in a particular philosophy of mission. And we share what we know as a what we call mission in partnership. It is a philosophy that we share because we strongly believe that God calls us to do mission in partnership with the communities with whom we work. That means we don't do things to people, we don't do things for them, but rather we seek to work in partnership with them and in mission with them. To this end, we teach and promote 5 principles of mission partnership. And the first of those is shared grace and thanksgiving. The idea here is that we are all partners together as children of God. We acknowledge our failings, we seek forgiveness, and we give thanks and praise to God for the gifts of grace and renewal that we all share together. It is the idea that one partner isn't better or worse, higher or lower, but we're all equal partners. And at Solar Under the Sun, we manifest this idea by acknowledging 3 cornerstones in our ministry. And the first of those is relationships. The second is relationships. And as I assume that you all know by now, the third is also relationships. The most important thing that we do is to establish relationships. And therefore, that we want to highlight that in everything that we do. The second premise that we share is mutuality and interdependence. The Apostle Paul reminds us that we are all part of one body, and a mission partnership calls for interdependence between the partners, where mutual service is extended to all, mutual accountability resides with all, and no partner dominates because of affluence or of a perceived expertise. We seek mutual service and mutual renewal. So we learn to work together with mutual interest in a common purpose of a harmonious existence. And as we do, we will create a much better and a happier place for everyone. The third area that we want to lift up before you is recognition and respect. Now, one of the ways that we demonstrate recognition and respect for one another is to listen to them. As you look at the little cartoon, you know, the wife says to her husband, "I'm sorry, dear, I wasn't listening. Could you repeat what you said since we've been married?" When we learn to listen to each other and value the gifts of others and respect the validity of other worldviews, we are respecting other partners in Christ and the ability to recognize our equal standing before God. To offer recognition and respect to the individuals we work with means that we don't barge in and take over and ignore cultural norms that they have. So we want to respect their lifestyles while also being able to listen together. The fourth area is open dialogue and transparency. You know, when we gather together, our partnership calls for open dialogue, common discernment of God's call to mission. We don't want to say that we have the best answers for everything. And again, as the cartoon shares, I haven't read your proposal yet, but I already have some great ideas on how to improve it. You know, the way we do things may not always be the only way to do them. 6 plus 3 equals 9, but so does 5 plus 4. And so the way we do things may not be the only way, and we need to respect other people's ways of thinking. A big part of Solar School teaches us how to have this open dialogue, how to discern what both communities can give to the project, and how to build a long-lasting covenant relationship between the two groups. And dialogue is the way to do that. In one event in southern Zambia, there was an NGO that saw an absolutely magnificent valley in the Zambezi River. And so this team was amazed that the local people in such a fertile valley would not have any agriculture there. But instead of asking them how come they were not growing anything, they simply said to themselves, "Thank God we're here, just in the nick of time to save the Zambian people from starvation." So they planted their seeds, and sure enough, the crops grew beautifully. Tomatoes and zucchinis were ripe and rich. But just before they wanted to harvest them, overnight, some 200 hippopotamuses came out of the river and ate everything. And they said to the Zambians, "My God, these hippos, where do they come from?" They said, "Well, that's why we have no agriculture here." And they said, "Well, why didn't you tell us?" And they said, "You never asked us." When we go in thinking we have the best idea rather than having dialogue, we may tend to ruin the experience rather than helping it. Finally, we want to demonstrate that all of us have resources to share. At Solar Under the Sun, we recognize that everyone is valued, that partnership calls for the sharing of all types of resources: human resources, cultural resources, financial resources, spiritual resources, and especially the friendly conversation and faith transforming life experiences. Everybody has something to share. And so we recognize that when we join hands together, contributing the particular resources that we have, we can indeed make the world a better place for everyone. I'd now like to take this opportunity to introduce my brother in Christ and my colleague at Solar Under the Sun, Roland Wyckoff. He is a gifted instructor and one with whom I am honored to work. Roland, blessings on you, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Tom. I wanted to start by talking a little bit about Solar 2 and who our class members usually are or could be. You would think that we would be looking for electricians or electrical engineers or the like. But in all honesty, we're looking for anybody that has a little bit of interest, a little bit of talent, and willingness to learn. I myself am a family physician. I'm not an electrician. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I've learned the techniques and the information that we need to know. Now, that being said, we do have a very talented instructor staff that does include those things, as well as a putt-putt golf instructor who was a supply officer in the military as well. But that just emphasizes the fact that you don't have to have a specific set of talent to do this. What you need to have is love and the willingness to serve. So I wanted to start by talking about what we teach. And one thing that's very important is to know that we teach small standalone systems. We don't teach anything that connects to a generator or anything that connects to the electrical grid. Many of the places we install systems may have some electrical power intermittently, but rarely have reliable electrical power, and often have electrical power that's so expensive they can't afford it to begin with. And so our systems are usually about anywhere from 1 to 6 solar panels, which if you've got a little technical savvy, would go up to about 15 to 1800 watts of solar panels. So if you're looking to learn how to install a system that will power your whole house and send power back to the grid, we don't teach that. Many of the same concepts that we do teach are involved in that, but you might not find what you're looking for. So the very first thing that we talk about is the solar site survey. Tom has given a good description of that, and basically it's a fact-finding mission. Why we generally will plan on having 3 trips to a mission site. The first one involves the solar site survey, and during that time we meet our partners in country. We work on developing relationships and understanding. We look at the viability. If there's not open areas to sunlight, it might not be a good answer. If there's, if you're at the far extremes of the hemispheres, north or south, it might not be the answer because solar doesn't have as much power there. We try to gather all the information that we need to design that system. And to do that, we need both Solar One and Solar 2 graduates. Solar One is the people that try to keep us grounded. Most electricians, most technical people, if you give them a job, they're going to put their nose right in it and everything else goes away. And Solar Ones are our eyes and ears around us to make sure that we are paying attention and listening to our partners. So after we've done our solar site survey, then we can use that information to develop an electrical needs assessment. And basically what we're doing is we're saying they have asked for a light in 6 different rooms. Well, we could give them a 13-watt CFL light bulb in each room. And to do that, we'd have to have this number of solar panels and this number of batteries. Now, when I went through solar school 10 years ago, I was in the first class and everything was on paper. I think it took 13 pages to do our electrical needs assessment. But since that time, we've gotten smart and passed that ability on to everyone else. And so we put it all in a spreadsheet. And so rather than having to redo calculations every time we make an adjustment, we can adjust the numbers in our spreadsheet and it helps us determine the size of that system. All of that, the electrical needs assessment spreadsheet, the format for the solar site survey is all in your syllabus that you get. And that's one of the most valuable things that we provide through our solar school is the handbook that you take home, because we give a lot of information in those 3 days, and you need to have a reference to take back home with you. So as we talk about sizing a system, we have 2 basic models of systems that we install or teach to install. The first is a community-sized system. Generally, it works on 24 volts, and these are all the components. Now, while you're in solar school, we'll talk about each and every component in that system. We'll talk about brands and model numbers that we have used, that we have experience with, and we know that are reliable and affordable and able to get. And so this is, if you look at each of the items here, these are actual pictures of some of the components that we install. Now, there are some systems that don't need nearly as much, and solar power costs money. So there's no reason to install a super expensive system if we can do something more affordable. Our family size system is a 12-volt system, generally has 1 or could have 2 panels, and and a 12-volt battery. This would power maybe 4 or 5 lights in a household, as well as being able to power a small radio or television, charge cell phones, and give some reliable power. We're working towards a goal of getting this system down to about $500 per system. We're not quite there yet, but we're working hard to do it. And so as you look at the needs, we need to design a system to meet those needs. But we also need to negotiate with our partners because they might not understand the limitations that we have. And so we need to make sure that their understanding of what we're going to provide is equal to our ability to deliver that. So what are we going to learn? We talked a little bit about this. We're going to learn how to do a solar site survey and an electrical needs assessment. We're going to learn about each of the components that goes into a system. We're going to design and construct a system. And during solar school, you actually, as you see in the picture on the left, you actually build a system. At the end of solar school, we connect that system to a solar panel and batteries, and we make sure it works. We call that the smoke test. And so far, we haven't smoked anybody. So don't be the first. And so you get a chance to have some hands-on experience. You also have the ability to buy those components and take them home with you so that you have that available for when you do go in country. We also talk about training our partners, which is an incredibly important part of our training. And because we aren't going to be there after the installation, we need to make sure that they understand how to operate it, what to do if there's a problem, and how to maintain the system. As Tom said, we want this system to be there in 3 years or 5 years or maybe 10 years. The initial system that was installed in 2009 is still operating in RKE Haiti. And I did want to add that Sierra Leone is a new country that we are in. I went with a team in February and installed there. So we are expanding our reach as we go, and we look forward to involving you. And so what's the result? Well, the day does not have to end when the sun goes down. The productivity, the ability to learn, the ability for families to commune, for churches to meet, can all go on even after the sun goes down. So I'm going to give this back to Megan, and she'll continue our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Appreciate that. That was wonderful. And Tom as well. That's really kind of gives you a good introduction to what Solar School looks like, what Solar One is, and what Solar Two is. And we just want to take a few more minutes to show you what happens after you come to Solar School and show you some of what we do that's operating in the mission field and working to alleviate energy poverty in different countries around the world. As Roland just alluded to, this is our first installation back in 2009 in RKE Haiti. He said it's still going strong. And one of the things I love about this picture is you see a diverse range of individuals there. You see people of different age ranges, different ethnicities, different genders, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and different levels of expertise when it comes to education and training, especially in electrical work. It just goes to show what a beautiful thing we can build when we bring together people from different walks of life to work towards a common purpose, like putting solar power and clean water in a community. This is that ugly generator that we're trying to replace. This is the loud, polluting, it breaks easy, needs fuel, and that's what we don't want to see. Instead, we want to see a nice, clean, sustainable, renewable, reliable solar system. So this is a picture of what our community-sized system looks like. The part you see on the right are all of the electrical components, in addition to the saddle or the solar panel and battery. And the part that you see on the left is a water system. This particular community-sized electrical system is supporting a water filtration system, amongst other things. And this is a picture of the outside, where you can see both of our organizations working in partnership. Solar Under the Sun with our solar panel and electrical work, and water tanks for the raw and clean water. And Bondelo means good water in Haitian Creole. So that is a beautiful sign for those communities to see. And these are some of the results: smiling faces, healthy children, communities that can work together, employment opportunities. All of these things can come from this community-sized system being installed in a community. This is another example in Honduras this time of a community-sized system powering a church. This place is very near and dear to me. It is the church, the Presbyterian Church at El Horno, Honduras. It's up a farming community up on a mountaintop and quite remote, and they had no electricity in any of this community or surrounding area at all. When we came, we were able to install a community system that powers this church and runs a water filtration system connected next door. But you can see on that, you can imagine on that very dark mountaintop with no extra light, that when those lights first came on, the shining brilliance that it gave off, and you can see that the people were drawn to the light to see what was happening and to come to the church. And this is a volunteer center in Haiti where people who are working with medical missions or building missions or things like that can come and stay at this volunteer center. And now it is well lit and safe and a place for them to recharge. Those were examples of our community system, and here are some pictures of our family size system. This is what we tend to install in either a small school that just needs a few lights or in single family homes. It is generally a single panel, and you can see a much smaller system in terms of its components, something that can just hang on the wall in a room of a house and provide electricity for the whole family. One of my favorite parts about working on these family systems in homes is the partnerships that you really get to develop and the relationships that you really get to develop, because often you are turning the screws and the drills right next to the homeowners that are going to be benefiting from these systems. We've also seen just the whole community come together. So these are all pictures of our Honduran partners working alongside our American partners, putting these systems together, and it's a beautiful thing. The raising of the solar panels, the raising of the pole is a fun community time where everybody can get together and lift those poles with the solar panels up in the air, and it's always a moment of great excitement and cheer when the pole goes up. Almost as much as when the light bulb finally comes on. We get it all connected. And that's that moment. That's the moment we're there for. The smiles that you see on people who have lived in a community their whole life and never had electricity, and now in their own home they have light. They can send those kids to school during the day and know that they can still get their chores done or make those firecrackers in the evening, or in the evenings they can read and study and learn. And that's just such a wonderful blessing for these families in this community. Real quick, I want to highlight that this system is modular. You can keep adding more panels and adding more batteries. And in this case, there was a high school in Sheridan, Haiti, where they needed more power. They didn't want to just put lights and phone chargers and things like that. They wanted to power an entire computer lab in this school. And one of our churches from Fort Worth, Texas, tackled the problem, and they did it. They built this beautiful 48-volt system. You can see all those batteries down there, and our instructors helped with the design of this, and they did a great job installing it, and now the education continues even after the sun goes down. We've had a couple of Eagle Scouts come through and use the mission and leadership training that we teach in Solar One to be able to establish and complete their Eagle Scout projects, one in Hess, Haiti, and one in Sheridan. And they had great success with that and earned their Eagle Scout badges. And recently we've delved into work in Puerto Rico. We went to Puerto Rico to see the challenges that they were facing there after Hurricane Maria, which knocked out the power grid on most of the island. When we went there, it was about 8 months after the hurricane, and there were still places that had no power even 8 months. And it was routine to find people who had gone 4 or 5 or 6 months, not days or weeks, months without any access to electricity. They faced a very difficult time, and we knew that solar could possibly be an answer for those communities that still face the threat of hurricanes to come. We did a pilot project here for the gentleman in the top right part of this picture. We had a couple of people from Puerto Rico come to our solar school at Ferncliff in Little Rock, and they helped us with the pilot project of doing an installation at this home. This man's wife is diabetic and did not have a way to refrigerate insulin, and now they know that regardless of the grid, and whether they're getting electricity through the grid, they have solar panels and a refrigerator that will always work and keep their medications cold. We were very touched by the stories that we heard there in Puerto Rico, and we found that this would be a great opportunity for our first attempt of taking solar school to the community. So we actually did our first overseas solar school in Puerto Rico, and it was a tremendous success. I think the instructors and the students probably learned equally from each other, and it was a wonderful collaboration with the communities there. So we were teaching them how to be able to put solar panels in themselves, to have those emergency reserves, and maybe reduce their dependency on grid electricity. There is still a lot of work to be done in Puerto Rico, and it's one of the places that we can help connect you to. Like I said, after you come to solar school, we can help you make connections. If you have a project in mind already, fantastic. And if not, we can help you make connections with those communities where work is sorely needed. As you head out into the mission field, and we hope what you take from Solar Under the Sun is our hope and desire that all work is done in partnership. We want to see us work in partnership with the communities that we're interacting with. We want to form covenant relationships and make those promises that will last a long time. Here you can see pictures of the signing of those covenants, and those are so special to the communities that we work with. We want to seek to strengthen those communities. Often a solar project in an area requires the community to come together and strengthen their own bonds to be able to support the team coming in, to support the project, to sustain and operate and run the project into the future. So the work that we do can really help strengthen communities. We seek while we're there to train the trainers, to teach people the technical aspects that are going to be there after our team leaves, so that they can help with the maintenance and sustainability of the project. And ultimately, we seek to create sustainable systems. We don't want to be one of those projects that feels good and it lasts for 6 months and then nobody's able to use it or it falls by the wayside. We want to create that system that'll still be going in 5 years or 10 years from now. But ultimately, like we keep reiterating, our mission is about building relationships. The solar panels and the electricity are the means in which we do that, or the byproduct of what we do. But ultimately, our mission is to build relationships and reach out in neighborly love with our brothers and sisters in Christ.
I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty. You gave me a clean glass of water to drink. I was in need of shelter, and you invited me in. What technological advance could be locked up in one of these young minds due to the lack of being able to study at night? Or maybe some great development in the field of medicine, maybe a cure for pandemics or cancer. The future of the world lies in these young minds, and all they need is maybe just one 7-watt LED to light up a room at night so they can continue to study and read and work after the sun goes down. When you work in the mission field, I guarantee you can't give out more love than you receive in return. There's a new day dawning. And in that new day, we will all share communion together. We will bring our first fruits into the church, not our second fruits or our third fruits, and lay them at the altar of God. And we will all enter into this relationship together, wherever we may be on the face of this earth. And that new day, it's now, for at the foot of the cross, we all stand on level ground. And now I would like to go in and we'll entertain questions from our group. If you've posted a question, answer that now. Elizabeth Brenniger will do that. And if you go to the participants in this presentation, you could even, there's a button in there where you can raise your hand if you want to be recognized. And I think Elizabeth may recognize you.
I can't
So anyway,
recognize you.
take it away, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys to start your video. If you're like me, you need to have people's videos turned off during presentations because I get a little attention crazy. I need to not look at everybody. But let's see. Okay, so we're going to start. We have a question from Matt. So Matt, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hey, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah. So my question just, is generic in fashion, just, seeking, information on where the greatest needs exist, whether it be within the Solar One group, the Solar Two participants, financial needs, just kind of where the needs exist today.
Well, I'll take a stab at that to start with, and somebody else may want to follow up on it. Wherever we've been in the developing world, there's great need. You don't have to seek it out. It comes to you. Haiti is one of the poorest countries in this hemisphere, and there is always great need there, and we have many installations in that country. But any of the countries in Central America, Guatemala, Honduras are two countries we're in now, but we're also in some countries in Africa. But the need is in about 1.6 trillion people, I believe, around the world. 1/3 of the world's population, anyway, has no reliable electricity, and so it's not a problem in finding the need. It's the problem is getting enough people trained to get out there and meet the need.
Can I add a little bit, Elizabeth? Yeah,
Oh, please do.
thanks for your question. I think as I interpreted your question, you were asking what is the greatest need in Solar One or Solar Two, rather, because I think we're here because we recognize that there is a need around the world, and is it a greater need in Solar One or Solar Two or financial? And the answer is all of the above. We certainly embrace individuals who are willing to take on a leadership role in Solar One and help us, create those mission teams and develop these covenants and especially nurture those relationships. But but at the same time, if you have electrical gifts, Solar Two will always be able to use you. And you may be one of those individuals like Megan Rubio, who is trained and a Solar One instructor as well as a Solar Two instructor. And so your gifts are welcome everywhere. And so, I think wherever you feel God calling you to serve is where that greatest need exists.
But I'm going to go.
And I think,
Go ahead. Sorry, Roland.
I got one more thing to add. I think this is an important time to add too, that once again, our goal is primarily as Solar Under the Sun is educational. And so we're training people to go. And so, part of it is looking for people you can work with. Now, if you don't have anybody, then we're often able to connect you to help people out. I've often been, I consider myself kind of a gun for hire because I've been involved in small churches that don't always have the means to send whole teams. And so often I end up going with other teams that want a little extra expertise or that type of thing. And so I try to partner with them as well. And so I think Tom's right. I think kind of following your passion as well as what God's leading you. And you know, Solar Under the Sun, we operate on a shoestring budget, but if you've got money to spare, we're willing to take it. I don't want to I don't want to misrepresent that, but really we want you to be able to serve the people around the world that need it, and there are a lot.
But I think, you know, because right now there aren't, you know, solar schools going on this year, obviously, and you might not have an extra $45,000 sitting around. I don't know your life. But one thing that everybody can do is today we can all tell 5 people about Solar Under the Sun. Like I can send an email to 5 people and say, hey, let me tell you about this. And then, because you never know if that's going to be something that touches that person and they say, that's something that I need to know more about. And so there are so many different ways on so many different levels for us to do things wherever we are, at whatever level we can participate at. There are some people that, you know, for multiple reasons are not capable of going on a 2-week mission trip to a country where they have to hike over a mountain to get to where they're supposed to be, or they can't go because they have small children or XYZ reasons. So, but there are things that we can all do with whatever we have everywhere we are, right? Okay, so Dory sent us a question, and then I saw Patrick, I think. So Dory.
Yeah, I was wondering what the relationship is like in the covenant. You install, and then what happens after that? What are the responsibilities of both parties, and how do you maintain the relationship?
I'll start out and then somebody else can follow in. Yeah, the covenant is established between the organizations, whether it's the church that you happen to be with and the other community in country. And we seek to establish a 3-trip model. Roland mentioned that, I think, in his presentation. You know, that first trip is that site survey, you know, when we look and see what is needed in those electrical needs. And we establish a covenant then, and we kind of work out who is responsible for what. And in our Solar One class, we have a model for the covenant, and you make the covenant your own. I mean, it's yours. And then the second trip is the installation trip, and then the third trip would be the follow-up trip to continue those relationships. And we want that covenant to be 3 years. And then at the end of that 3-year covenant, you may want to extend that covenant because you develop these relationships and you've watched the kids grow and you've seen the community develop and the exciting things that have happened there, and other communities want to be involved in what we're doing. And so part of that covenant is also to establish contact people in country so that you can have email conversations with them and maintain contact throughout those years.
Did that answer your question, Dory? Or do you want some follow-up?
Yeah, you may need to follow up.
Okay.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, Patrick, I think I saw you.
Okay, I think I'm speaking.
Yes, sir.
Our church is trying to supply solar to an orphanage in Ghana. We're planning for next summer. I would be glad to do your classes if they're available. But my main question is trying to get information. Obviously, I can't put a solar panel in my suitcase and take it to Africa. So I need to have contacts as to where and what I can buy there, and the cost, so that I can go back to the church and then we can go back to that orphanage and figure out what we can actually do.
Well, I'll kick it off, and then I think Roland or somebody else may have some. The Solar One, the first trip of the covenant model is your survey to do electrical needs assessment. And part of that survey is to go around and locate suppliers of solar panels and batteries in the country. Most of the equipment we can haul in suitcases, but you can't take batteries, and solar panels are way too large. But we have found in the developing world, there's many places you can go, and every place we've been so far, where you can buy those certain supplies, and we consider that a win-win situation. The more we can buy in country on your first solar trip, you're helping not only the economy of that country, but you're making it a lot easier on your teams going in and the equipment they have to bring on the installation trip.
So how do I make these contacts in Africa? Do I just go online and put down Africa solar panels?
Well, who is your contact there now in the country?
Yeah.
COM or CORN, CORN.
Yeah, and they
Is the
have,
orphanage that we're working with.
yeah, and your
Maybe they
in-country
do. I don't know.
your in-country partners will probably know or can research for you places to go where there may be suppliers, and that would be your first. You could go online, I guess, and find suppliers, and some of them usually they're in major cities in these countries. You're not going to find them in outlying areas, but you can usually find solar suppliers in most every country in their major cities.
Chris, I could probably add a little bit. So I was, like I said, we were in Sierra Leone in February, and I think probably a lot of the African nations are similar. Oh, everybody shifted, so I want to make sure Billy was still there. Sorry about
Patrick.
that.
Patrick.
Oh, Patrick. Okay.
That's my wife.
But I wanted to make sure that that you were still there. So in Africa, there you can actually Google some locations and see at least what equipment they have. Our experience is that, or my experience in Sierra Leone was very similar to my experience in Haiti, in that there's kind of a, I don't know, it's like a market like everything else. If you go to Mexico or that type of thing, where you can get low quality stuff kind of anywhere, but trying to find quality equipment can be difficult. We typically carry in everything except for the batteries and the solar panels. And typically batteries and solar panels are very accessible. And like I said, that first trip, when you go in and look at the location, we do everything from drawing, diagrams of the location so we can figure out distances for how much wire we need, how big are the buildings, how big are the rooms, you can kind of diagram your whole system before you even go back to install, so that you can determine, exactly what components you need. A lot of times I end up taking a lot of my wire with me because I can't always find the wire that I want easily available, or it's expensive. And so I think that first trip is super important, and it's worth it. You don't normally have to take a large team for that evaluation trip. But I do think it's important to have both people that are technically focused as well as relationship and community focused to make sure you're getting all the information you need.
So you're saying, I believe, that this is a multi-year project. You don't take and install the first year.
Well, I mean, you could do it in a year, but you probably need a scout team, and so that team may go 1 or 2 months before the main trip, just to identify those vendors it's very difficult to identify them once you're in country. You don't always have reliable internet access. You don't always have time to do it, and so I would highly recommend having somebody go ahead of time to identify those suppliers, or you may be able to, if you're already familiar with, you have an existing relationship with that orphanage and kind of know a lot of that information, then they may be able to identify some of those. In school, we teach you how to look at the information sticker on the solar panel to know exactly what the output's going to be. And solar panels and batteries in general are fairly universal. So there aren't a huge number of very cheap manufacturers of those items. So if you get those in country, generally they're going to be reasonably reliable.
Okay, so then I would need to have help in identifying the electronics that I need to take over. And
that
essentially
would
build
come
that
during,
system.
yeah,
Essentially build that system
and that
here.
would come during that. Yeah, that would come during that solar school to know.
Are we going to have
exactly
that? Are
what
you going to have
components
that
is.
school?
We're
Are you going to
hoping.
have that school?
We don't know yet.
Yeah, I know. We don't know if we're gone to Ghana yet either.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah,
right.
I know. So
Is our spring school usually in March? Is that, I don't remember.
March
It
or
is
April.
it is our hope to have a school in March or April at Ferncliff. That is our plan and what we are working towards, COVID allowing for that to happen. So we don't have exact dates cemented for that yet, but we'll be looking in the March-April timeframe and making sure that we can work with Ferncliff and with our organization to ensure that we've got COVID safe procedures in place. And if we can make all that happen, then there will be a school in the March-April timeframe.
you can sign me up for that then.
Thank you, Patrick.
Great.
Okay. Okay.
That being said,
Yeah.
you're welcome to email me. You're
Okay.
welcome to email me between now and then with kind of the basics, and we can
Okay.
get some things going. And I can include the other Solar 2 instructors from a technical standpoint as we talk about maybe what we're looking at. Because it's hard not knowing ahead of time kind of what, are you looking at 4 panels or 40 panels? So we can help you
and
with
I'm
that.
still trying to get that information, and I will get
Sure.
more information about the buildings and what they have to help with that. Okay. If
Sure.
you can,
Yeah.
how do I get your
Roland,
email?
do you want to type your email in the chat box?
I'm doing it
How do
right
you
now.
do that?
Okay.
How do you
know
do
what
that?
the little chat thing
Oh.
is on the very bottom? Just click on that and Roland's going to put his email address in there.
It says switch camera and switch audio.
No, don't do that. Hit the little chat.
No.
The little
At the
message.
bottom, yeah.
Down at the bottom there should, when you hover over the screen, it'll say chat.
Okay, I think Megan has it because I called up Elizabeth and she gave the information to Megan, I believe.
Yes, if you can't find his address, we can email you. We have your email address and can send that.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to do it here. Sorry.
Okay, we'll get that.
That's all right.
I also really want to encourage you to, if you can make it back the next 2 Tuesdays,
Oh, I
especially,
will be. I'm signed up.
okay, especially for that Solar 2,
Wonderful.
we'll be giving more
Okay.
information about the actual components and how they work together and some things like that. We'll answer some more of
Okay.
those specific questions during those other 2 briefings.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
We have
did
a couple more. We have a couple more viewers on here that I wanted to just ask if we've addressed your interests, and is there anything we can? I see one that says subscriber iPad, and then Roy. Do you guys have any questions?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Here we go. Can you?
Roy's already been to one of our schools, one of our earlier schools.
Ray Stevens is trying, I think wants to be unmuted. Can you
Okay.
unmute that
I gave you
subscriber?
permission to unmute yourself. Can you get it, Ray? There you
There we
go.
go.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Hey, there you are.
I'm not going to be able to attend the next two sessions. How will I be able to view the recorded sessions? I understand that they're going to be recorded to where we can view them at a later time.
We are recording them, and what we're going to do is we have a channel on YouTube, and so after all of them are recorded, we're going to post them up on YouTube, and I'm going to send out a blast email with links to them, so you can just go in
Okay.
and watch them at your convenience and at your leisure. And I know that you are going to want to press pause at specific moments to write down word for word exactly what Roland says, because of the great amount of brilliance. So.
Well, it's good
I
to
don't
see
know about
Megan
that.
again. I haven't seen her in quite a while.
Yeah. So good to see you.
Thanks for all the information. Say hi to the boys and to Stu.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah, and as Chris mentioned, I'm Roy, and I've been through solar school and been on 3 trips to Honduras. And one thing I would encourage the gentleman that's talking about going to Africa is attempt to find another partner, another solar person, solar under the sun person that has experience to go with you, because that's generally how we've done our trips. Is we always act as mentors for 1 or 2 others to come on that trip. And Dave Howell, I know, has been a great mentor for many Solar 2s on every trip I've been on. So I would encourage that 100%.
Thank you, Roy. Oh, sorry. Hang on, David. Let me get you. There you go.
Thanks for the info there, Roy. I hope I didn't mess up too bad when we worked together in Honduras. Real quickly, I went and Googled while we were talking, and there's solar suppliers all over Ghana. And all you have to do, and you can pick this up from Solar 2, is know some brand names. You don't make solar panels in a garage. If it's got a brand name on it, it's not counterfeit. It's more likely the real thing, and that's what you want to go with. And there are a couple of battery lines around the world that are good. And you know what battery to buy by brand name. You know what panel to buy that you're getting by brand. So you know you're getting good stuff. It's just a matter of then going to which dealers got it and buying them. Depends on what part of the country you're going to. You want to find the big city near there, and more likely you can work it out. We can cover a lot more of this in the Solar 2 session, but that's how it's worked for people who've gone on their own into other parts of the world where we had no experience, and they put in successful systems that are working today. They're not on necessarily
I'll look into that.
country we're
Thank
in,
you.
but they're there and working. But that's the mechanism that we use to get you good stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good information. Anybody else have a question or comment? All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here tonight. I think it was wonderful. I always like hearing this presentation, so it always gets me, and it always reminds me of why we are here and why we take part in this. And if you have any questions or any comments, you can feel free to email me. It's elizabeth@solarunderthesun.org. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.